So when I was in year 9, like my dad, he got me a job at a market research firm just over the long break, so the summer break or whatever. And it was just like data entry, and then it was like a lot of testing of food products and whatnot. So this company, they would go and test food products before they came out. So when I started working for them, I realized how chill it was in this work environment. And also the two bosses, the husband and wife that run the company, especially the wife, she's a very successful woman and an entrepreneur. The way she handled things was really cool. And I really liked how she didn't really focus on money, but she focused on like how she ran a business to live life. In 2022, I realized I'm not enjoying this. Like I don't want to really do this. I don't really care about making X amount of money, and I just want to do something that like I can dictate. If I want to go on a holiday, I'm going on a holiday. If I want to stay at home in bed till 10 a.m., I'm going to stay at home in bed till 10 a.m. If I want to work till 2 a.m. because I want to work till 2 a.m., I want to, and I don't want to have to wake up at 7 a.m. or whatever the next day to go into office or whatever, right? And now, then when I did that, I was like, okay, cool. So I just quit with no plans. I mean, I had savings, so it was fine. And it was primarily the reason for quitting was I just wanted to be able to dictate and control my own life. Everything is that, man, you open this incredible thread that I am so loudly spoken because I think, it's gonna hate a lot of lefties here, but I think the world is full of people looking for reasons not to do something rather than people looking for solutions to do something.
Yeah.
Primarily in the Western world. Australia, be it UK, be it Canada, be it US, whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
Because these countries have everything at your fingertips for you to live a somewhat okay life.
Welcome to the Victory Lion Podcast. Lion!
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
And now your host,
OP Jaya Singha.
Mr. Tanila De Silva? Thanks, Mali. Brother?
Thank you for having me, man.
Cheers, bro.
Here we are.
Here we are. I've known you for a very long time.
Too long.
Too long. Believe it or not,
Do you know
man.
how long we've known each other?
No, tell me.
I met you in like 1994.
How do you remember that?
Because I remember, good question. It's funny you asked this because our parents were doing the same drama stuff way back
Yeah?
in. I mean, our parents were actually probably the front runners in the early 90s that created the Sri Lankan drama theatre and all that in Melbourne. And because they worked together, both your parents and both my parents, I was always just by myself, had nothing to do. You were one of the ayahs that my mom and dad were like, and I used to follow you around, bro. You don't remember this. I don't remember. You don't remember this. I used to follow you around because like, oh, he's cool. And then the other ayah that was cool was Dash. Dash was there.
Dash,
and I was like, oh, they're the coolest ayahs. And I should hang out with them. Because you guys were like really close. So then I was like, I want to be like them. I was probably annoying as hell for you, man. But thank you for letting me hang around with you when I was 3.
That's cool. Yeah, obviously I remember your parents, man.
Yeah.
Because, my parents, your parents, we were tied doing drama after drama, right? And
I felt like every weekend was like
something going
something
on.
on. Yeah.
Something going on. And I look at my life now, I'm going, I don't have the time to do any of that stuff. How did they do it, man? Like they did so much temple stuff, dramas, work as well.
Yeah. And then raising
radio, us.
Yeah, the radio.
Do you remember the radio?
I remember, Ranjit and Ruby. Do you remember that?
I do. I miss them. I wonder what's going on.
Do you want to hear a funny story about that? Not about them, but there was this, do you remember? Transco, Cargo, Ane. Do you know who created the jingle for that?
No.
My dad.
Really?
Yeah. So my dad
Love
wrote
that.
it and created the jingle, and I don't even know if he recorded it, but in the 90s. So before they were as big as they are now.
There you go. That's a catchy. That's very catchy.
Yeah, funnily enough. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. In terms of the radio, do you remember Garmini Uncle?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I gave him a call a couple of weeks ago. I should actually catch up with him.
Yeah.
But we're going off topic. It's all about you today.
No,
right?
it's
all
okay.
about you.
Thank you for having me, man. You've done an incredible
bro.
job. Like
Thanks,
we were
bro.
talking about just before as well. 11 episodes?
15 now.
15
I think
episodes.
you're number 16.
Wow, 16.
Yeah.
That's a lot of episodes, man.
Just a fun project,
Yeah.
giving back to the community and all that stuff. Yeah, man, had to have you on because you're one of the few people, I've been thinking about it, like you do a whole bunch of stuff other than work, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm
work
pretty much
as
a
well.
dull bludge, everyone.
Work as well, but there's only, I can't even think of anyone else who has this many hobbies, this many ventures, and do you know what I mean? That keeps you busy.
Yeah, it's I do see that. Like when people tell me what are you up to, and I tell them, oh, I did this or I went away or whatever it is, and the conversation kind of spirals into whatever we're talking about, I almost feel guilty because I start catching myself and I'm like, they're generally asking me about how my weekend was or what I've been up to in the last month because I haven't seen someone. Then I'll say what I've been doing. Then I'm like, hold on, I think I'm talking about myself too much here.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
And it's not because I have to do it. It's just because life is short and I want to do everything that I want to do. I don't have any regrets in life. That's like the one thing that I'm quite proud of myself.
Well done, dude. Well done.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you on like a
On the later stuff.
no, yeah, on the later stuff as well. But even it's like from a time management perspective, like how in the world are you doing all of this stuff? But I'll come back to that. Give me a quick recap, or as long as you want, just on your childhood. Like, what were the beautiful memories that you had? What were some milestones that you were like, wow, that really meant a lot to me looking back at it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. Honestly, I think everything revolves around arts for my childhood.
Were you born here, by the way?
No, I came when I was 1.
Okay, Nangi was born here.
Nangi was born here. Nangi was the first of any of my dad's or mum's sides of family to be born outside of Sri Lanka. So that's kind of cool. So, but yeah, I came here when I was 1. But I guess the long story short, I guess, is everything revolved around what we touched on earlier, which was just art or drama, theatre, because that's all my parents did. Like, I mean, my dad was doing TV shows and dramas and theatre shows massively in Sri Lanka, and he was doing with stuff with the big names like Srianta Mendes and Jackson Anthony and all those guys. So he could have probably been where they are had he stayed.
In Lanka?
In Lanka, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
not many people know that, man. So it wasn't like he came here and he picked it up because it was like, oh, this is fun to do. I think it's because he loved doing it and he wanted to share his talent. And Ammi was always an amazing singer. So you know, she sang with Victor Ratnayaka, Gunadas Kapuge, all those like super famous Sri Lankan artists. So my weekends, much like yours, was every weekend was like, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. We're probably going to go to some community center because Ammi and Tati have a rehearsal for this drama or that musical or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I grew up doing that, which is like following my parents around, and for every weekend was music or acting. That was my life. Monday to Friday was, maths or Pythagoras, and then Saturday and Sunday was either being at a show or going to rehearsals for a show in a few weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then obviously I played cricket growing up, as every Sri Lankan boy does. 1996, thank you. That's all we got. We don't have anything else. And then what else did I do? I played piano. That was the other artsy thing that I did. But I was actually an introvert, which most people don't actually see.
I told someone I'm an introvert. Like by default, I am. But they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get it, right?
They don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it. And I this is gonna, anyone watching this, it's weird being on the other side of the podcast, but like, it's weird to like even say that I'm an introvert when you have your own podcast and you do like weddings for a living almost.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe I'm an omnivert might be an easy way to look at it.
But what does that word mean to you? Because I'm
Introvert?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So introvert to me is what I do majority of the time, what I prefer to do for peace.
Yeah, okay, that's a good
Right?
definition.
So I'll be out doing everything. I get energy off other people. We have very similar personalities. And I think when I'm alone and I'm by myself, I'm quite happy just reading something quietly or just sitting there and not doing anything or just listening by myself and like not even listening to anyone or just watching some series.
Yeah, dude, you're the same as me.
I love it. That is the most peaceful thing I can do. And I think that kind of ties into with why I have my life built the way it is now, I think. But yeah, what is it to you? I'm just
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I mean, I'm quite happy just sitting on, corner of a couch somewhere, reading a book, having my chai, and or watching a movie, or just cuddling my kids and watching a movie, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Just
quiet.
something quiet,
Yeah.
right? Surely they'll be jumping on me and stuff, but it's still
zen.
zen.
It's still zen.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no like bills to worry about, job deadlines. You got to fill up your car with petrol or pay whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
It is quite nice. So I actually enjoy that. So you'd see me doing all the things I do on the weekend, but then most weekdays between, I don't know, 7:30 and 10 p.m., I'm probably like just on the couch, man, in a hoodie, in my pajamas, just reading something, or like usually like finance articles or reading a book, or just honestly binging some random silly TV series that I probably not even paying attention to. And it's just like, that's when I can, re-energize, I guess.
Did you sort of picture your life to be like this growing up in, like, say in high school? Did you go, hey, I want to go down this career, or is it just a phase of, series of decisions that you made? Because I was speaking to you before and you're going, I'm really happy with my life.
Yeah.
I'm happy. And that's amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing for someone to say, because I don't hear that often. And I wish I did.
Yeah.
But did you know that it was going to come here?
Did I know if I was going to be happy? No, because I don't think I understood what happiness is. I know people talk about being content being more important, but I don't believe in being content. I think being content is going to probably anger a lot of viewers, but I think being content is settling, is how I see it. I think you should be happy. Yeah, things are going to go wrong and shit can hit the fan, but you should be happy more often than not.
Yep.
So I never thought I'd be happy, but I knew that I would kind of do what I wanted to do and make my parents proud from that age anyway. So I was like, I need to, not want to, I feel like I needed to make my parents proud almost.
Okay.
So, but that was okay. Even though that was pushed on me as like a brown boy from, Dandenong or whatever, I think I was happy with that because that's all I knew, and I really did want to make them proud. So I knew that I was making them proud with all the decisions I make, whether it was my math scores or my science scores or my English scores, and then the cricket accolades or the music accolades or the drama accolades, and they were like really proud. So I was like, oh, this makes me happy. Like I feel like I have a place. So in my future, apart from wanting to be a lawyer at some point, which I didn't end up doing, but I always knew that I'd be happy with my family, if anything, not happy with where my life's going. I know that's kind of almost contradictory, but yeah.
Did your parents sort of not push you, but did they persuade you into going into, say the lawyer part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that, that's typical brown parents
Parents do, yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, no, man. I think I told my parents when I was like in year 8 or 9, I really would like to go into law. So they were like, okay, cool, and push you into law.
Yeah.
Like makes you think about it. It makes you do legal studies, you do English, you get the proper tuition for it, and you do well in those 2 subjects because that's probably more likely what your life's going to be like outside of high school or outside of uni for that matter. But they never pushed me for it. They only pushed me when they realized I wanted to do it.
Nice.
I always thought my parents were super strict growing up. They were only strict about one thing, man. They were strict about like drinking, drugs, and girls. And to be honest, even look back now, if I brought home a girl when I was younger, I think they would have been fine with it too. The drinking and drugs, I agree with, and I'll probably do the same as them. But yeah, they weren't strict about anything else because I'm hearing stories now from other parents. Now their parents aren't accepting of their partners, they're not going to their weddings, they're getting involved with their lives now that they're married or they're not married or whatever it is, and they want to have decisions on how they control and raise their grandchildren. Man, my parents have never had any of those issues. Like every time I've, done anything outside of the norm, they're just like, okay, well, what's your decision for it? What's your reason for it? And they're like, all right, give it a go.
Yeah, your parents have been always cool, man. Like even from a young age.
They were strict though, man. Like you never saw that because, behind the doors, they were very strict, but I was a very fortunate child. I would say I'm a very lucky kid actually, yeah. A lot of shit happened as well growing up. There was a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need to get into, but it's just also like, that's part of life.
That's part of life. Part of life. You ended up falling into the finance sector, right? After school, after uni.
During school, really? Yeah.
During school. What?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So school, I wasn't really. I was always good at saving money. So when I was in year 9, like my dad, he got me a job at a market research firm just over the long break, so the summer break or whatever. Yeah. And it was just like data entry, and then it was like a lot of testing of food products and whatnot. So this company, they would go and test food products before they came out. So there's a whole bunch of products that I tested like probably months and months or even a year or 2 before they actually got released by like Kraft and Heinz and all these massive companies.
Yeah.
So when I started working for them, I realized how chill it was in this work environment. And also the 2 bosses, the husband and wife that run the company, especially the wife, she's a very successful woman and an entrepreneur. The way she handled things was really cool. And I really like how she didn't really focus on money, but she focused on like how she ran a business to live life. I guess that kind of like played a part. And I've always like, every dollar I got, I never got paid. I was like, oh, you just put it, she's like, oh, give me your bank details. I'm like, oh, I just paid into my dad's account. I didn't really care. So for months and months that I worked, all the money went to my dad's account. I didn't need it. I was on Centrelink anyway, man. Like, like whatever, I had youth allowance, whatever it was, right? So like, and even that I didn't spend. I think I gave it to my parents anyway because I don't need anything.
Yeah.
But I did always save. So at one point when my dad was like, well, you've saved this much, this is good. I was like, oh shit, I've done all right. So I just kept saving and saving. And by the time I was like 19, I had like $24,000 saved.
Dude, that's amazing.
And this is 24,000 then is like a while ago.
Long time.
Not that long ago. I'm not that old.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. But still, yeah, it was a lot of money, right? And when I was 14, 15, I remember like what I used to read was like the newspaper section. You get the journal. I don't know if you remember, but there was always a housing section. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I loved property, man. To the point where I would only read the property section, and I got so good at property that my dad would randomly ask me, okay, there's a house in like Endeavour Hills that's this block of land, this many bedrooms, this many bathrooms, this many things. How much is it selling for? And I'd be able to get it within like 10, 15,000 from like 14, 15, 16. So my goal when I was like 14, when I first started reading about property, which was the local paper, was by the time I was 18, I wanted to have a house. So that's where the finance, like, I started liking money or sort of thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So no one knew about that. I didn't even tell my friends that I had a house till like 5 years ago. I bought a house at 19. That was the first time I bought a house. Yeah.
Amazing. So did your dad have that thinking?
My dad's a businessman. So maybe he was always a hustler, man. Like I remember he used to work at like a restaurant. He did some taxi driving way back when. He worked for a scholarships group, did really well. He got sent overseas because he did really well as a counselor. Then he ran his own businesses. So he's done everything. He was a mechanic, through German tech and whatnot. So he could always do everything. And I always saw this, like he'd do this job, and on weekends he would do this, and he'd fix his car on the Sundays and sell another car or whatever it was. And I guess I grew up around that
mentality,
what these kids say, hustler. Which I
yeah.
don't really like the way it's being used now, but just a hard work ethic, I think, is a better way to look at it. And so I guess that's what I grew up around.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. So that's when you're 19, right? And then, I mean, I know you worked for one of the large banks for a while as well. How did that play out?
By accident.
Okay.
So I was I was in uni when I was 19. So when I was 21, I was just working from 18, 19 to like 21. I was working just at the Village Cinemas. Great job, by the way, for a kid in his late teens or early 20s. And I just wanted to get a foot in the door and to work at a branch, like at a bank. So I used to always go deposit money for my dad's businesses at the local ANZ. And one time I just went in there and I spoke to the lady. I was like, hey, how do I become a teller? I mean, I know I'm pretty young, but like, is there anything I can do? And I remember her name, Donna Merritt, actually. Lovely lady. She got me a number of relief agency, like Hallis or Hayes or something, right? Which you might be familiar with, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And she got her phone out, wrote the number, gave me the number, and I was always been proactive. Like anyone that knows me that I would... I get shit done.
You get into
I'll get it done. I'll get it straight away. So got the number, walked back home, called them, had got an interview the next day, went in with my resume, got offered a job within 48 hours.
No.
Yeah, it was just like, just to tell her, I was like, I'll work anywhere in the Southeast. I'll got a car, I'll drive anywhere. I don't care if it's 10 hours a week. Yeah, I had an interview the very next day, and then like within two days after that, I got offered a job just as a relief teller.
Okay.
And then I fell into ANZ. And
which branch, do you remember?
I was a relief teller, man. So I worked at there's a few.
Course.
So it's like Southeast, like Dandenong, Limbrook, Endeavour Hills, Rowville, I don't know, it was Fountain Gate.
Relief teller?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of the term.
Yeah, they had a relief teller, yeah.
There you go.
So I met a lot of cool people, and that's when like my love for like banking and finance kind of really grew, and I've learned about like, I know I already had a home loan, but then I learned about home loans and like financial planning and small business specialists and what a branch manager does. And yeah, I had some great mums at ANZ that taught me a lot. So
yeah, nice.
Awesome.
The sales targets and stuff like that. I don't know what they were like before, but what was it like? What was the environment like? Because I'm not hearing good things, man. Like every time I speak to a teller or a small
business banker or whatever it is.
Banking, whatever. Like, dude, the targets are killing us, and I don't know if it's with this one particular bank or if you're finding it's the same across.
It's probably the same across, man. So when I was there, I was pretty chill. I was a 21-year-old kid. I worked as a teller. I just had to refer people to open like a savings account, and that was my one referral for the week out of the 5 that I needed, right?
Ah, okay. So it was manageable.
I mean, I don't even think I hit it that often, but like I didn't care. I was just there because I was learning I was meeting people that were doing things that were really cool.
Got it.
It was just like a sponge. When you're a kid and just learning all this cool stuff. But all the banks are the same. So I worked at ANZ, I worked at Westpac, I worked at Bendigo, I worked at Bank of Melbourne. And across corporate banking to frontline banking to business banking. And the targets, let me put it this way, it's forever moving, the goalposts, and it'll never stop. Because the banks don't care about customers. And I don't mean that in a way that all banks are bad. I just mean that it's a business, man. I mean, if you're running a business, you need to, it's like if you're running your own business, if it's not profitable, who's going to put food on the table for your wife and kids, right?
Yeah.
So no one can hate the banks, no one can hate any business. It's just what it is. And with cost of living going up, inflation, naturally the targets are going to be pushed. So for any of my bosses that were like telling me, hey man, you need to lift your game, I'm like, I get it. You know, I probably do need to lift my game. Do I want to? That's another story.
That's another story. Yeah, gotcha. Actually, it's around this time. I actually remember one of the. I mean, this is like, I don't want to age you, but this is a while ago, right?
Say what you're gonna say, bro.
So I think I DJ'd at your 18th and 21st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we ended up keeping in touch, obviously. But I don't know if you remember this, man. I ended up dropping Notorious B.I.G. It wasn't Hypnotize, something other track, but it was a Larry D remix. But that just went off, dude.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. That was my 21st.
That was the 21st, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of the best parties I've done.
Yeah, that was a dope party, man. Thank you for DJing.
No, that's all right. But I think we ended up just keeping in touch. And eventually, until a few years ago, I ended up adding you to the Anything Goes group.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then you messaged me privately going, hey, I don't know if you meant to add me to this group.
Yeah.
I'm going, dude, you're definitely in the group.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Because like you guys are all ayahs to me, so I was like, oh, but when I made a mistake, how do I like message him and be like, I think you made a mistake. Do you want me to leave so it's not weird for you? Is what I was trying to play. Yeah. Because like when I always saw you guys, I was like, it was pretty much that 4-year-old kid following you around at the community centers and be like, oh, Mommy said I have to be here with you and it's fun, so I want to be here, but I know that I'm probably imposing. You know?
But the amount of stuff that goes there, bro, you're just right at home, right?
It's good fun, man. Those boys are, I mean, thank you, actually, because it's a unique group you have there, man.
It is a very unique.
And a couple of them you should definitely have on your podcast. But you look at like Dylan and Mars, and I mean, those two that I talk to the most, and even Harv's I used to talk to a lot as well. Those guys, every time I talk to them, man, they're so selfless. And I don't get that with my own close friends that are much closer than you guys.
Yeah.
You know? And you too, obviously, but I mean, it's outside of you. And it's just like, it's really nice and refreshing to see because you have such a good group there. When I say, like, because you grew up with them.
Yeah.
Out of like the 8 boys that I'm closest with or whatever it is, right? I'd say like 2 or 3 will feel that way, but there's a bit of a crab bucket mentality. Man. I don't give a shit saying this. You can watch it. Like, it is what it is, right? So like, and I don't get it. But then I have like 2 of my boys that I went to Village Cinemas with that I met when I was 19, 20. Like, you know, one's Vietnamese, his name's Joey, and one's like a Sri Lankan dude named Prish. And like, those guys I run businesses with, and they're just like, T, get it, do it. Let me give you money. Let me invest with you. Let's do this together. And it's always been good. And it's just wild to see that. So just on a slight segue, thank you for introducing me to those guys.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
I work with them. I've done martial arts with them, and they've worked with me. So it's just been like this really symbiotic relationship. So I think relationships are key.
Relationship is key, and you're right. There are some people in the world that are happy to share anything that they've got if it'll empower someone else, and it's not going to take anything away, right? Like if I give you a hug and that makes you feel happy, it doesn't take anything away from me, right? And some people are happy to do that, but I've noticed there is a segment of the population, sadly, that just hold back, man.
Yeah.
And it is sad.
Why do you think, man?
It's a good question, dude. I don't know.
You interview some really, like, I've seen 4 of the episodes.
Yeah.
I will watch the rest at some point. But like, you've met these really cool people, and you probably learned a lot from them because they're probably as successful, probably even more successful than you. And
100%.
And what do you think the general feeling is for them to reach that? Is it because of them being so selfless and wanting to empower?
I think a couple of the people that I've actually met, they've gotten to a certain stage where they've had a major life event happen, like Dominic Bagnado, the architect so he had a major life event happen where he almost passed away, right? And he goes, geez, I've got all these things in my head, I need to give it out. And it's not going to take anything away from me. The other thing that I've found is these people are so wealthy and so they've got nothing to prove.
Confidence almost.
Yeah, they've got nothing to prove that if I share this, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to worsen my life.
Correct.
Or hold me back from reaching my next tier.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know, I feel like it's just one of those 2 events.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair, man. And I'm a big believer in manifestation too.
100%.
And I think that is so important. And
100%.
there's really cool, what's the book called? Is it The Gift or The Present or something?
The Secret?
The Secret, thank you. Sorry. I read it so long ago, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember. But yeah, The Secret, everyone should give that a read, or at least watch this little doco on it as
Doco on
well. It's all about, this essentially. And I think it's so important that you kind of have that positive mindset.
Yeah, 100%.
And these guys obviously do, and they don't really care because they're so positive and belief in this, have self-belief that they don't think, oh, if I give you this hug in this scenario, I'm not gonna lose one hug, you know?
Yeah.
And I think most people have that, now I'm down one hug mentality rather than I've given something more for the world or that person, because there's so much tall poppy syndrome. There's so much crab bucket mentality, you know?
It's
just
messed up.
not
I
good.
mean, I understand because obviously the cost of living is high. People are struggling and stuff like that. But I've just, I don't know, I've come to this point in my life where, you know, if we go out, I end up paying like coffees, whatever, right? Even at work. And, you know, I walk around the office and I get people going, Opie, I owe you a coffee. And I'm going, no, you don't.
You don't owe me anything.
You don't owe me anything. I'm not keeping tabs. Why are you keeping tabs?
Yeah.
But people have got that mentality and I can't shake it.
I had that too, man. I had that probably during uni when I
you?
was poor, I think. You know, when
Yeah.
you're on that like I think I made $150 a week.
Yeah.
So I still remember. Here we go. This is gonna make you laugh, but it was a thing where because the group of boys that I grew up with, it was fine. We split it, and it was like perfect. We did everything in there, transfers all done, right? So then there's a different group of people like you that just like, all right, you pay next time, I pay this time, whatever. And I never got into that because, like, you know how most people buy this round of drinks and that round?
Yeah.
Because I don't drink, I never have bought a round because it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want you to buy me a drink because I'm not going to drink it. And I don't want to spend $100 on drinks for someone when I'm not even drinking.
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I was always like, had that kind of weird mindset, which is probably not the right way to think about it in hindsight. But I remember one time I bought this guy a kebab in uni, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I'll get you on the next one. Yeah, it's been like 10 years, man. Gotta be a fucking kebab. Okay? And I was like, I totally forgot. I was like, I was keeping tabs on this $15 kebab or whatever it was. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we all fall into it at times. Right?
It is a bit of that, man. But I like right now, I'm at a stage where in my life, once it's paid and done, that's it.
Yeah.
Gone.
And it's probably like not shortening it. It's probably gonna lengthen your life not thinking about this, right?
Yeah, like, you know, I'm not a big shot, but it doesn't make a difference to my balance
Yeah,
sheet, right?
absolutely.
It's just that mentality now.
Yeah.
And I've found the more I give, the more I end up receiving, man. I don't know if it's the power of manifestation or
It's also
something.
the energies, right?
Yeah, man. All these money coming from just different places, but I'm equally spending, right?
yeah.
It's just weird.
It's a beautiful relationship of energies, which sounds not in the hippie way, but I think it's just like what you put out is what you get.
What you get it, yeah. 100%.
I tend to, that's realistic for me. Like if you ask any of my friends, like even if I'm on a date, for example, I'll probably talk more to the server, guy or girl, it doesn't matter, and just find out about them, and then kind of forget that I'm on a date, for example, or I'd be at a like the other day, I was in Queensland the other day, and I went to like someone else's house that I've never been to before. I don't even know the kids that live there. The kids were my invite in through my partner or whatever, and then I ended up talking to their dad for like ages about trees and banana trees for like an hour and a half to much of the detriment. And I was like, oh, well, it was just a good conversation, you know, because you kind of lose because it's like I just want to have a chat with them, and you were busy anyway, so let me just talk to Uncle over here.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
the whole relationship, like you were saying before.
And that's what I remember more than, you know, the dance practice that these kids were dancing to. When I say kids, I mean they're all my age, but yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense, dude.
Yeah, wild. Yeah.
Coming back to your story, right? So you're in finance in terms of your banking and banking life. What happened after that?
Yep. So I did finance and worked in banking from technically 2011 till 2022 or 2023. No, 22.
Wow. So during the COVID times, right?
Yeah, it was great.
yeah.
COVID times was the best. And I'll tell you why. Because I was essentially had a team of like 6 or something, and they closed down my branch. And
Were
I
you
was
a branch manager?
Yeah.
Oh, you were a branch manager?
I was a branch manager for years, actually. Yeah.
Dude, that's not bad for a young guy. Is
Yeah,
that normal?
man.
That's not normal, right?
I mean, I'm sure there's heaps out there. There's one other guy that was about my age, but I remember when I went to a slight segue, but went to now that you brought that up, when I worked for Bendigo Bank, I took on a position as a relationship manager, And I remember I went to a conference. It was really cool. It was my first conference as a manager, and it was kind of exciting, you know, and it's good fun. I was away for like 2 days and all that stuff. And I remember I went there. There's a room of like 300 people of branch managers from all around Australia for this bank. And first of all, I realized 99% of people are white. There was a few Asians, a few brown boys, brown people, sorry. And then everyone is over 45. And I was 26. And I remember I was like, there was one other guy that was like my age, and apart from him, I didn't see anyone. And I was like, at that point, I was like, this is kind of cool, man. Like,
kinda cool.
yeah, I've done all right for myself, like, you know. So that's kind of cool. But to answer your question, I don't think there was as many at 26 anyway.
No, man, that's
But there definitely
phenomenal.
are. There's people that are sometimes younger, man. I think I read someone that was like a branch manager, like 23, 24, and that's like incredible. Like, kudos to her. I think she did an incredible job.
But kudos to you, to be honest, like doing it.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I think I worked pretty hard. So, but yeah, everything happens for a reason.
But
Yeah.
what made you,
Leave?
you know, give up the good life for a great life?
Yeah, man. Yeah, much to my parents' disappointment. I remember I was 2022. I actually quit working for Westpac years before and didn't work for 3 months because I just didn't like it. I didn't like the sales, and I was like, I didn't want to do it. Didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I went back to banking because it was safe. Then I climbed the ranks and I got a good position. And you're making like decent money and it's comfortable, right? And obviously putting on a suit is all good. But in 2022, I realized I'm not enjoying this. Like, I don't want to really do this. I don't really care about making X amount of money, and you know, I just want to do something that like I can dictate. If I want to go on a holiday, I'm going on a holiday. If I want to stay at home in bed till 10 a.m., I'm going to stay at home in bed till 10 a.m. If I want to work till 2 a.m. because I want to work till 2 a.m., I want to, and I don't want to have to wake up at 7 a.m. or whatever the next day to go into office or whatever, right? And now, then when I did that, I was like, okay, cool. So I just quit with no plans. I mean, I had savings, so it was fine. And it was primarily the reason for quitting was I just wanted to be able to dictate and control my own life. Yeah, be the master of my own fate and the captain of my destiny, or whatever that quote is, you know.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I chilled out for a few months. And then I decided life's too short to be, you know, just like sticking into the bank. So I knew I made the right decision, but I also wanted to look after the people I loved. So that was the year that was 2022 that I decided. I actually didn't even tell my family, so my mum, my dad, and my sister. I just ended up booking this like 5-week European trip for all of us. Just fucking bang it on the credit card. We're going, done. And I mean, money is money. Like you said, it comes back, right? And it was the best decision I ever made. Not quitting, but making that decision. But what enabled me to do that decision was quitting, obviously. And once I quit and then I organized that trip, I got so much happiness out of it that I got to take my mum and my dad and my sister to like 8 countries in Europe, and then Dubai, and you know, mum got to go to the gold souks because that's what every brown auntie loves, and then they got to see Switzerland, UK, they got to see France and all the great things in Europe. So that was awesome, and that solidified my decision that I had made the right decision, because in a selfish way, I guess, I was happy. You know, because it seems like a very selfless thing, and people are like, oh, it's so great that you did that you took your parents and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, but actually I got more out of it, I think, because I realized that makes me happy. I was giving something back, and also it made me happy, dude. I was like, this is awesome, and I just want to do that for them all the time, and I want to do it to like everybody else as well, whether it's my future partner, future kids, family, whatever.
But going back to your decision, man, that wouldn't have been easy at all, right? Or was it easy because you had the sort of the security at home, you had some coin in the bank, you're like, okay, if I don't do it now, it's not going to happen. Is that sort of the thinking behind it?
It's a really good question, man. The good news is I did have coin in the bank because I've always been a good saver, which worked out really well. And my parents obviously didn't force me to pay any rent or anything, which makes it so much easier. They've never asked me to pay them for anything. So I guess food-wise, I always had rice and curry if I needed to because Army made it. And then I always had a roof over my head, worst case scenario, because it was rent-free. And kudos to all the brown and Asian parents that allowed their kids to stay home, because I will encourage that too, I think, if they want to. I was comfortable. But in the end, I still had 4 mortgages.
Yeah.
You know, in 2022, I had 4 mortgages.
And they were, personal question, but positively geared? Nice.
No, on tax papers, they were negative geared. I mean, if AT was watching this, they were They were negatively geared.
Okay.
But it was okay because I was working anyway. So I always had an income. And that was before like all the rent increases too, man. So rent increases happened like 2022, 2023 is when there was a massive jump, roughly around that period. After that, it was a bit better. But even if I wasn't, like I would have done it. Like,
You would have done it
I would have done it anyway. I didn't care. Worst case, you sell a house, dude. Okay, big deal. you know?
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, was it an easy decision? Yeah. It kind of was, I think. Yeah, I didn't think too much of it. I remember my parents were very disappointed because when I said I'm quitting the bank, I remember mum was like, but you're a bank manager, you're so young, you're doing so well. No, I was actually I was a relationship manager at that point. They're like, oh, this, and this. I was like, yeah, I get it, but that's what I want to do. And eventually they were quite supportive about it. So, and then they got more supportive when I set up the business for Tanz Finance, I think.
course.
Because I was loitering for a few months, you know.
Yeah, which is fine, right?
Gallivanting the
You're
world.
sort of figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I remember you actually making the decision to do that. Do you remember when we went on a hike? It was sky high, that hike. You were in the process of
Setting it up.
and
Yeah.
there was a separation as well in terms of partnerships and so forth.
Yeah, you remember? Okay,
Yes,
I can
yes.
tell you exactly what happened.
Tell me the
Yeah.
story if you're comfortable with it.
Absolutely, man. And that business partner's reached out and apologized many times now, so I have no issue talking about it. And we're friends, so that's not an issue at all. But big ups to him. I think it takes a huge amount to apologize.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I initially quit the bank, and my mate was saying he was doing this finance brokering for years, and he's like, you should come on board with me, and we'll do it together, 50-50 everything, blah blah blah. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'll quit and I'll do it. And I didn't need to go into it straight away. I had time. I was like, I'll set up my company and we'll go and we'll partner up and set it up. And like I remember a week after I quit, he didn't return my calls, he didn't return my texts for ages. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Normally like this person always replies. And then I get a text saying, I've decided I don't want to anymore. I think it's bad for me, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And I was like, that's a pretty shit thing to do, you know?
Especially when you've quit and you're ready
Yeah.
to jump on board.
Yeah, but also I have like a brain that runs 1,000,000 miles an hour, man. So like already all the permutations of all this. So when he said that, I was like, cool. I'm not going to associate with him anymore. That's fine. But I was like, I'm still good for like 2 years if I don't want to work. So I was like, I'm going to do this on my own anyway. So I went and did it on my own. And it was around that hike. So I was like, all right, cool. Now I get full control over my logo, full control over my name, full control of who I get to hire, full control of the aggregator I get to go with and everything. And that was so powerful. And I was like, and honestly, man, best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened.
Because it's your own baby now.
Everything, man. Now I've got 2 like mentees that work with me, and it's like a beautiful business. We're slowly growing, and I don't force anything. I don't have any teething issues. I get to coach these 2 people. I get to learn myself, and I get to grow this into whatever I want. And I get to create the name, the logos, the colors, everything the way I wanted.
Yeah.
But
I remember we were giving feedback on the logo. We're like, you know.
Well, the logo's thanks to you, man, because I was like trying to figure out a logo for ages, and I was like, I didn't want to spend like
Oh, it's the competition thing I told you about.
the
Well
competition
done.
thing. So
Yeah.
then you'll like go to this like it was like a Fiverr kind of
Yeah,
site,
yeah.
but like better. And then I went to it. I put $30 or $50 on there, and I got back like 180 options, man. you
Yeah,
know?
that's the best way. That's
Best
how I
way.
end up creating logos as well.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
was
best
so
way.
good. And I narrowed it down to like 3, I remember. And upstairs, like Amitati Nangi, we were all sitting down. I was like, oh, there's 3 logos. I need you guys, and I had my eye on one. And then all of them picked the one that I wanted. So then it just worked out. I was like, that's what I wanted too. And then we all picked it, and it was just like yes, every time I look at my logo, I think of my parents and my sister, which is kind of cool as well now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there
yeah,
you go.
thanks, man.
No,
I
no,
guess in many
anytime.
ways you were at the start of my business. So.
You mentioned Army, dude. Let's talk about Army, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But tell me about that journey, because
Yeah.
I know those of you who are close to you know the story behind it somewhat.
Yeah, I mean the close ones know.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so that was 2022 when we went that Europe trip. In hindsight, was the best decision I ever made in my life, I'd
Yeah.
say, because in 2023, pretty much almost exactly a year later, like Ami was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, which is like a stage 4 cancer in the esophagus. It had metastasized at that point, which essentially means it spread into vital organs.
It had.
It had, yeah. So stage 4 pretty much means, in the most blunt way, game over. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if. And the hardest part for me was I knew that because I work with a lot of doctors in my field because that's who I specialize in. So when I was told the news, my emotions just shut off and I just went into
Problem solving
problem
mode.
solving mode. And which was good and bad, I guess, because I still haven't dealt with it. But good in the sense that I reached out to all the people, sent all the reports, did all the emails, and then I realized, okay, this is what's going to happen. And I've already started to like do it. And I was like, now we just do best with the cards that were dealt. And unfortunately, that what is it, chemo or there's another one already. I can't remember. There was chemo and there was something else that I can't even, immunotherapy. I don't know what it is, man.
Yeah.
But it was something like chemo as well that they did. And essentially in 5 months, she passed away.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys were there at the end. Actually, you came and visited as well with Dylan.
Yeah,
and,
we came into Dandy Hospital. I've even got a photo. I'll see if I can put it up on the screen if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it was beautiful for them to even for mum to see you guys because even Dylan were a big part of growing up because they trusted me with you guys. So that was kind of hectic, man. And like for me, it was mainly putting on that facade almost and the facade's become another mask for me now, which is like my 7th mask or whatever it is, which is just like a part of my identity almost because there was no time, there was no anything to weep, there was no time to cry, there was no time to worry about my own health because I was young, I'll be fine. But I know my dad wasn't, and I know my sister's going to deal with a lot as well. So it was almost like putting on this mask to protect them so that they didn't have to deal with the burden of pain. And there's been like 2 people that I've cried with about it, and they're probably the only 2 people I ever will because I don't need to. Because I think it's just like unnecessary and it brings out pain unnecessarily with the 2 people that are left that I care about the most. So it's a weird feeling, man, because you think about it and you're like, this is what I can do, what I can't do. You're running through all these emotions in your head, and then you realize how strong you are to be able to just, I don't know if it's the healthiest thing to do, and it probably isn't, but it was the best decision that I could have done with the information I had at play, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was so quick, man. 5 months. I mean,
That's just wham.
Oh, it sucked, dude.
It
was the worst thing ever. And the worst part, and this is, I don't know, I mean, I can say what I want because of my experience, but people might find this controversial or not really make sense. The hardest part isn't losing someone. The hardest part is actually seeing how the person that loved them the most deals with it. And seeing them go through the emotions, that is a killer. I wish that on no one, because, no one talks about that. And everyone talks about how hard it is for me and whatever. Okay, I lost my mum or I lost my dad or whatever it is. But the person that loves them the most has to deal with not being with their person for the rest of their life is the worst pain in the history of life or existence or humanity or any kind of living creature. And I think that's wild. Man. Yeah. And that was hard. Yeah, I think that hurt me more. And having to put on this facade and looking after this guy.
Of course.
Day in, day out,
I remember you going through that journey. You put on a brave face, bro. You put on a brave face. You carried yourself well. I remember even being at the hospital, and then your mom took my hand and said, "Puta, please look after Mully." And I'm trying to keep. I'm a softie, man.
Bro, I'm a softie too, man. I'm choking up now.
And I looked at her and I go, okay, Auntie, I will.
Yeah.
And then I paid my respects, and I think Dylan did the same thing. And then we walked out, and we looked at each other, and we said, "Fuck."
Yeah. It's hard, man.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah.
It was really
hard.
hard.
She knew.
She knew. Bro, she had the she knew
everything.
She knew everything.
She's all Dylan. She's like, yeah. I won't drop names here, but she's like, I remember your ex-girlfriend, and it's like, weren't you skinnier?
Yes.
Yes. Good up, put a mouth in it.
Yeah.
And Dylan's like having a laugh.
Oh
but
my God. He was good.
He was a good sport. And it was tough, man. And you just kind of the worst part is sometimes this thing, man, is the worst. I don't know if you have an iPhone or not, but if you have an iPhone, dude,
it brings up the memories.
Yeah, it's beautiful but painful at the same time. And I've gone through so many emotions of I should delete that picture, but I don't.
You can't, bro.
I can't.
You can't, bro.
But it comes up and I'm like, it's then you get triggered back and then you go and you scroll into 2023 and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. And we're there. And there's pictures of probably you in there as well, and like my friends that came, and then us and her in hospital beds and like being sick, and then right at the end, and it's and the funny thing is, man, I don't know if I ever told you this, but there was a night where I was with you boys having dinner at the Indian restaurant where you got the biryani from, and we finished dinner, and I just come straight from the hospital,
You told me this, yeah.
and then and then like I left to go home after having dinner with all the boys, all the AES, and then my dad called me, and that's the night that Ami actually went into a coma and never woke up.
Yeah.
So like it's this weird like we're connected on so many levels now that I think about it.
Yeah, that night I remember because I reached out to you a couple of days later, and then I think you didn't get back to me straight away, which is understandable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you got back to me a couple of days later after that, and then I found out. I'm like, wow.
It was that night, yeah. Yeah, it was hectic, and I was like, I should come now. My dad was kind of like choking up, and my dad doesn't really choke up, and I was like, I'll come now. He's like, no, don't come now. She's stable. And then I was on the way home, then he called again, then I went straight to the hospital. I didn't leave the hospital for like 2 days. Yeah, and that night everyone came, like at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., all the boys came, and it was just like,
Yeah.
she had passed away, yeah. And it was like, it was interesting, because you think about it and you're like, oh, was I upset then, or did I even have time to be upset? Because then so many things happen, the commotion, because you're there, and then, you know, the heart rate stops or whatever, and you're like, fuck, like this is it. And then all of a sudden my auntie was there, and a few close friends and family were there, and everyone came to the hospital, and then you don't have a time to really process your emotions, because you're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then you got this uncle asking you for this and that, and you're like, all right, cool, well, I gotta do it because my dad can't answer, or my sister can't either, I guess, or doesn't know what's going on, or whatever it is. So then all of a sudden I feel like I'm 12 again, because you're like, I just want someone else to kind of
Take
take responsibility, but I also don't, because if someone else has to take it, to be my dad, and then he'll be going through all kinds of pain, you know, I don't want him to go through that. So I'd much rather take the pain, because I can take the pain, and my heart's stronger, and I'll deal with it, and you know, I'll overcome it. And I think it's worse for them. So yeah, it was like a big, I don't even know if that was that night or the night before. Like it's just like those 48 hours is like a massive blur. But yeah, it's just you don't know what to feel really.
I know, bro. I mean, kudos to the three of you for staying tight and just taking it one day at a time. There's nothing else you can do, right?
You can't, man.
Yeah. So good on you for three of you.
Yeah, I think so luckily for me, my best friend who lives in Canada with his wife was down here at the same time, and he was sleeping with her in my guest room. And my other best friend, she's from Queensland, she came down as well, and well, best friend at the time, I guess, and she was staying in my room. So I had like 3 really close people just living with me, and
Just by coincidence.
just by coincidence, yeah.
Wow.
So that was good. It was a good distraction.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember one night, so I was sleeping with my dad in my parents' room because my room was taken, and I put my dad to bed, which sounds really strange to say, as like a tough night for whatever reason, and I came out, and Presh was upstairs, who's my best mate, and I was like telling him at the top of the stairs, I was like, kind of broke down, but I didn't. I was telling him, oh man, I don't know how to feel, like, you know, to look after my dad. He just like stopped, and he like was like, you remember, like, he's your dad, yeah? And then like changed how I saw everything, because I was like, you know what? It's true. Like, he's a strong dude. Like, he's going to be okay too. And then, yeah, it's tough, man, because you're like, you want to look after your dad, but he's going to look after you, and you're both just trying to look after each other. And it's like this weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying that at the dinner as well. You're just like, I got to look after my dad. I got to look after my dad. And we're
That's the only thing.
Yeah, we were just too dumb. We were like, we didn't even know what advice to give you, man.
You don't. Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, you do have to look after your
Yeah.
dad.
It's just like a. Yeah. That's all you can say. Like, if I was in your position, man, I wouldn't know what to say either. I mean, like, yeah. I just remember after it all happened, I was like, well, now my priority is this man.
Yeah.
You know, like now I'm like, got all the blood tests done, got all these tests done, all the checkups done within the first 3 months after Mum passed away. Now, annual blood checks, exercising, going to the gym, going for walks, like that's all you can do. So for anyone watching this, I guess my advice is, if your parents are around, like A, go spend time with them, and B, make sure they're not being lazy and eating the right foods, and, you know, doing the right exercises, whatever it is.
Yeah, the whole nutrition aspect of it. I do want to come back to that. So remind me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks for sharing that because I know it's not easy, bro. So I appreciate it. I mean, for anyone who hasn't heard your mom's story, that's it. So
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing because
No,
I know
thanks,
it's,
man. You guys all came down and
it's very raw
Yeah.
still. So I get it. I
yeah.
get it.
Someone actually mentioned the other day what was it with? Oh yes, it was two things. I went to Sri Lanka in December and I bumped into a monk on a plane, like a Sri Lankan monk. He was there at Ami's funeral. He said this, and then I was at a wedding 3 weeks ago, emceeing, and an uncle sat me down and said this too. And I don't want to say I'm proud of myself, but I kind of am proud of myself. And I think it's important that we do that at some point without trying to be too arrogant or whatever. But both of them remembered my eulogy.
Oh,
Yeah, so he came. The monk almost verbatim said it in Sinhala what I said, and the uncle sat me down. Like, and I was working at this wedding. I was emceeing the wedding, and he came and sat me down. And beautiful uncle, and he was just like, "Puta," I'll say it in English, but he's like, "Puta, I just want to talk about your speech at your mum's funeral." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." He's like, "I just want to say it was the most beautiful thing I ever heard. I still think about it to this day." And he started quoting things that I had said. And then he was like, if I had a son, he's got 2 daughters. He's like, if I had a son, I would love it if they understood the love parents give to their kids the way that you understood how your parents gave you love. Man, I'm at this wedding and I'm like, whoa.
wow.
Yeah. And I got to be like cheery and make jokes, but I was just like borderline like about to break down. But it was also beautiful because he
Yeah,
said
he
all these
shared
things.
that, yeah?
He sat down for like 20 minutes, bro. And he was just like telling me all these things about my eulogy. And then he was talking about my parents because he knew my parents. And I remember like, beautiful uncle, beautiful family. I actually know both the daughters. And then I remember it was a beautiful moment. And later, I think the next day, I ended up messaging one of his daughters like, "Hey man, your dad said the most beautiful thing. I just want you to know that, your dad's a really good dude. And I hope you're well, blah, blah, blah." And she messaged back and she was lovely, lovely, lovely girl too. But man, it's just like crazy how people remember these things. 'Cause I don't remember
Yeah.
much of my eulogy at all. I know you guys were all there, but
I don't know if you know this, but we were there, but we weren't inside. It was too packed. So
I thought you guys were inside.
No,
I knew
no.
you were there because you were, of course. Yeah.
We were there, so but some of the boys, we were just like, okay, it's too crowded, and we couldn't stay around, so we ended up just
Being at the back.
being at the back, and we sort of heard bits and pieces,
Yeah.
but people were talking. So I will listen to it at one stage,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad most of the people got to listen.
Dude, yeah, that was a hectic day.
It was full
Yeah,
on.
I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to do. And you're saying thank you to like a
Thousand
people,
I know.
man.
I know it was
I don't think
massive
I've ever,
turnout.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thank you to everyone that came. Like, my parents were very blessed to have these kinds of friends, and I hope I get to have these kinds of
Yeah.
friends one day too. But there was a lot of care there. I think a lot of like love.
It was a beautiful center as well. Like I've
was
never
a
been there.
beautiful
I've never
centre,
been
man.
there, but it was really beautiful, man.
Beautiful center, and they did
Yeah.
everything really well. Can't complain. But man, just want to say like big hats off to like the entire like German tech guys.
Dude. Yep.
Like
They just handle stuff, right? They just handle biz.
I say, man, like I will put my body on the line for anyone in that organization.
Yeah.
Because they did everything, dude. Like it's unbelievable. Like I didn't have to think about anything. Like it's not just about the money. I don't care about the money. Like I'll give you my credit card. It's just about like just little things that you don't think of, like the chairs, the canopies, the food, the getting the monks here, the other costs involved, the tea, the coffee machines, and because in our house, man, every night for like 7-8 days, 200 people every night.
Wow.
200 people. This is an exaggeration. Like 200 people every night, and then like at least like 3 or 4 different families for the next like month every couple of days. So it was
Wow.
like constant. And then like which I really appreciate. This is not me having to go at anyone. Like
Yeah.
I really love that everyone came and paid their respects and wanted to say hi and make sure checking on our family. But like it's a lot.
It is a lot,
It's a
it
lot.
is a
Yeah.
lot.
Because you don't have time to process it. So by the time everything died off, I don't think that's why it's been a year and a half now. I don't think I've processed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever will. Yeah. I think it's something you can. I don't think I can anyway. And that's probably why I do all the things that I do, just to distract myself from other things.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Let's pivot into that.
Yeah.
What are you doing now in terms of all your? Let's discuss your hobbies
Yeah.
before we go into your muse.
Yeah,
All right?
my hobbies. Yeah, where do I start, man?
There's a bunch of them, right?
There's a few, yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
I mean, all my hobbies, except for the sport hobbies, have turned into some kind of like a work.
Work.
Which is fine, because I don't see it as work, but in the traditional sense of people thinking work, it's work.
You get paid for it.
I get paid for it. So it's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
So
So there's a podcast host.
the podcast host, I have my own podcast, so it's really different to be on this side of the podcast or this side of the couch and have you ask me questions. And then there's so the podcast is through Oz News Lanka, so Under the Coconut Tree with Tanila, Chandi and the team, Premi and stuff. Those guys are fantastic. I have nothing but love and respect for those guys.
Amazing.
They run a fully well orchestrated, well-oiled machine. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Then the wedding stuff. So I sing at weddings and I MC weddings. That's fun, man.
Still doing it, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
I was in Queensland for the past month and a bit, and I literally flew in on Saturday lunch and flew out Sunday morning back to Queensland just for wedding Saturday night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah,
just
that was the wedding where that uncle came and spoke to me. Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, and there's no money being made when I'm flying that much. Okay,
Yeah,
but I don't care. It's just fun, man. And I made a promise to the couple, so I'll never bail on that. And then so it's a lot of weddings, 90% weddings, dinner dances that I MC or sing at. So much fun, dude. I
So
love
much
it.
fun. Are you doing a lot of prep work for that, or is it just like
Heaps, yeah. I don't want to give away all my secrets because, but essentially, man, I spend a lot of time with the bride and the groom and the bridal party, and I get to really know their stories. So when I'm talking, it's not just me getting up there telling a few random casual jokes about weddings and marriage or whatever it is. It's me sharing the entire love story throughout the night with humor and charisma, and making sure everyone in the room understands how these guys met, who they
Right.
are, how they operate, and their nearest and dearest, how they feel about them as well.
amazing?
And so even when I do games, whether it's a shoe game or whether it's a round the world game or the chicken dance game, whatever it is, it's all personalized questions about the couple.
Okay.
Apart from like who said I love you first, I guess I
Yeah,
use it for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
But like apart from that, it's it's 80% personalized,
Okay.
20% I reuse material. Yeah.
Yeah. I never knew that. So thanks for sharing
So,
that.
yeah, so it's a lot of prep work. So a lot of meetings or interviews with bride and groom, the girls and the guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good fun, man. And then what else? Is it hobbies, right?
What about the cadet stuff?
Oh yeah, man. So
That's a new one.
that's
well,
a new
relatively
one.
new.
It's
but
relatively new, yeah. So Army Reserves.
Army Reserves.
So I've always wanted to do that. I got accepted into that 10 years ago when I finished uni, but me and Thad, they said don't go into the army. It was always like I just want to see how I go. So now I'm in the reserves. I'm an officer in training, so which is cool. So I pretty much eventually will look after 40 soldiers or 30, 40 soldiers and train them in different things from like offensive operations, defensive operations, and a whole bunch of different stuff. Theory stuff, because I'll be an officer, not a soldier, which is super cool. And
What's the difference for a?
Oh
double
yeah,
army?
so there's two avenues you can go into any army. So one is you go as a soldier. Majority of the army are soldiers. So that's like your private, your corporals, your sergeants, and warrant officers as well. But warrant officers we still call sir, depending on what rank you are.
So these are like frontline officers. Yeah.
These guys
these
are like soldiers. So there's two parts here.
I have no idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
so think about like in a corporate structure, you have like senior management.
Okay.
Then you have like everybody else.
Okay.
So everybody else is the majority, which is the soldiers. So
Right.
you have privates, corporals, and sergeants, for example, right? There's like a whole bunch of stuff in between, but just for the sake of the argument. So majority of the army are soldiers, essentially.
Okay.
Then you have like officers, which started like a lieutenant, major, colonel, or lieutenant colonel, and generals, or brigadier generals, etc. So they're the ones that are like the senior management.
Got it.
So because of my experience and I'm a bit older, I could have gone down a soldier route, but I don't know if my knees could survive being a soldier anymore. So I'm going down the officer route so I can still do the soldier training, because you're a soldier first in the army no matter what. So I did my boot camp, got my head shaved, I got yelled at 5
you
a.m.
did
to
all
10
that?
p.m. Did all that.
Wow.
Yeah, so good news is if I ever lose my hair, I'm shaving my head, I don't look too bad. This egghead does all right. So that's always good news.
Full shave.
They shave you on the first day and then they're just yelling at you. Yeah, it's cool. And a lot of punishment, a lot of verbal abuse.
What did you say? 5 a.m. too?
Yeah, it's like they wake you up between 5 and 6 a.m. till like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Just go. You don't know what's happening. You just got to do everything properly. If your shirt's slightly out and untucked, or your shoelace is not tied correctly to like the centimeter, like they send you back in, change out, change back in a minute. You've got to fix your beds and have like hospital corners on the beds and do everything properly, which is really difficult to do because you only get like, we started with 12 minutes and you got dropped down like 6 minutes. So when you have a bunk bed, like our room had 5 people in it, to be able to shit, shave, shower. Actually, we don't even shower in the morning because you don't have time. So shit, shave, because you have to shave.
You have to shave.
Yeah, you don't have to shit, but usually you don't have to, right?
You have
so
to.
you have to shave. You got to brush your teeth, make your beds, and get into our army uniform in 6 minutes.
I'd be stuffed.
And we have 56 in our platoon. Yeah, wow. You got to be clean shaven every morning. I don't clean shave. I never even owned a normal razor until like I had to go to the army, so I had to buy one. And then I realized that I can't clean shave; it hurts. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that was hectic, man. So we were there for like too long. But cool experience. Always like to test my resilience, and that was fun. Definitely not for everyone, but I had so much fun at the same time because you meet some really cool people. And funnily enough, man, like there's a few army guys that I met on my boot camp that are actually clients of mine at Tanz Finance now because like
It just happens.
It just happens, and actually one of them's settling his first home loan in 2 weeks, which is really
There
exciting.
you go.
Yeah, so,
Okay. Well done.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, it's just really
it's a good
exciting.
feeling.
So that's cool. So I do that pretty often. We go away for weekends. We did a defensive operations mission, which was hectic. I can't go into too many details about what we did, but essentially you get woken up at like 2, 3 a.m. with an assault, and you're sleeping in like the dirt, and you got to defend the position and all this stuff. So. Yeah, it's cool, man.
That's
Not
awesome,
for
man.
everyone. At times I'm like, why am I doing this? But it is what it is.
Physically, you handled it, yeah?
Physically is good, man. Mentally is okay too. But yeah, it's different. Yeah. Like in the physical component, like at the officer training, like I did quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, no issues at all. The swimming stuff, I was one of the weaker ones, to be honest. My swimming is not that good, which is only like a small portion of it.
Yeah.
But everything else was probably in the top 3 out of all 60 of us or whatever it was.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, there was 2 guys that were like one was a firefighter, one was an ex-professional athlete, so they were doing really well. Yeah,
Okay.
So they were like, that's another level. But apart from that, I run track,
Yeah,
which is fun. So
that's still going on.
yeah, still going. Yeah, so I do that twice a week, my goal is to run under 11 seconds in the 100 meters, which is probably not going to happen. My PB is 11.4 at the moment.
Whoa!
So, and that's not bad.
100 meters?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's not bad, but
That is amazing.
But the world record's 9.5
No,
something, bro. So
dude,
I'm still
come
like
on.
2 seconds off. There's no chance we're gonna get that.
That's still phenomenal.
There's guys that are quicker than me, man. But for guys in my age that picked it up, I've done all right. Yeah, because I only picked up sprinting 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't know you're that quick. That is really quick.
Yeah, so I run like it's good. But my coach, I'm trained by Susanthi Gajai now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
pretty
So
cool.
she joined our club. She's like coming on to 50 now. She's still got abs. She's lean. She's vascular. She's fit as hell, man. And there's no bullshit with her. Like, she's just like, no, that's weak. Do this. And I'm just like, this is what I need in my life. This is what every kid, I think, feels like they need in life. It's like some direction and some, guidance, and not too soft. I'm a bit of a believer in tough love, But she's amazing. So her and the head coach, Brad, who I love, by the way, he's more like a friend now, but yeah, they've helped me heaps, and they all want me to do the 400 meters, which I don't want to do because it's the worst at like track event, in my opinion.
So what happens with these track events? Like, so you train 2 times a week, but what's the
Goal.
Goal, yeah.
So every Saturday during season, we have a competition with like everyone in the state, essentially, or our region, essentially, and then you have states and all that. I compete in the weekly one, and then I compete in the states for the over 30s, which I've done twice now, and that's not too bad. So I did the 60, the 100, and the 200, I think, so that I've done. Oh, I did the 400 once as well for state, I think. I can't remember.
Okay.
So that's cool. It's good fun, man.
And this is just because you want to?
Yeah, well, I did martial arts for like 17 years, and then I decided, you did that
Yeah.
martial arts as well, yeah. I remember you and your sister did it, right?
I know.
Yeah.
We did.
And I remember your sister had a really good kick because someone sent me a picture, or your parents showed me a picture of her with a high kick once. Jordan Mawashigiri, and I was
Jordan.
like, yeah, you karate, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Jordan Mawashigiri, and I was like, damn, that's good. And then I reenacted that many years later. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
There's one on the beach shot,
The beach
right?
shot.
The beach
yeah,
shot.
Charmiga took
Yes,
he took
that
that
was
shot.
good.
So that was pretty cool.
Any other hobbies that I don't know about?
I don't even know what hobbies are now. It's just like.
What about the music scene?
Oh yeah, I do music. Yeah, so I've released.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've released a few EPs which did really well. One did really well, man. So we did release one during COVID, which was about. I mean, it's kind of a morbid topic to talk about, but it did really well, maybe because everyone was in a tough period. It was about depression, suicide, anxiety, mental health, and that was an EP that had like 6 tracks on it, and just promoted people to talk about these things, you know. And I wrote all the songs, not the raps. The raps were written by the rapper, but it was a collaboration with this guy in UK, and it did really well. It's got like 250,000 streams now for a nobody.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, man. So it's yeah, it's kind of cool, man. So
That is very
My
cool.
thing is just like put yourself out there to anyone watching. Like if you want to try something, who cares if you get 1 or 1,000 or 1 million views? Who cares about the views? Just do what you love. If it doesn't hurt anyone, do more of it. You know,
Get it out there. Yeah. Get it
Stay
out
healthy and do what you love. There you go.
there. Yeah. You've heard of I don't know if you've heard of Grant Cardone's sort of mentality
I
of
know Grant
10x
Cardone.
thing.
I agree with Grant Cardone on everything apart from buying property or owning property because he doesn't like having your own house. Something.
Agreed. So I disagree with him on that. That as
Everything
well.
else, I rate him.
Yeah. He's like, you know, there's no chance of you being, I don't know, not heard or something. It's, yeah, you just need to get yourself out there.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah,
Just
he's
get
absolutely
yourself
right.
out there, 10x it, blah, blah, blah.
And why not?
Yeah.
And I think it's the perfect way to look at life. I have a question for you though, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had this conversation with my partner's housemates, and he got into this kind of like I wouldn't say heated debate, but a debate with one of her housemates about choice in the world. Like, do you believe we have choice in the world? Or do you believe that we're fated and everything is happening because it's already determined for us?
That's a good question.
I know the latter sounds really hippie,
Yeah.
and I would have said the same thing like 2 years ago before I looked into all this. But let's just put that aside and give me your thoughts. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I always thought, because I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like being, you know, told what to do or which direction I should get. So therefore, I feel like I should have a choice, or we all should have a choice.
Yeah.
But there's a guy that I've recently listened to called Daniel Priestley. And he tells me a story, or tells everyone a story about how he ended up in India, and he was delivering this speech, and he was just sort of going back to and from his hotel, and he's just seeing like dirt, poverty, right? And then he comes, and these people don't have water, nothing. And he comes back and turns the shower on, and he's just, you know, gushes of water running through, and he starts crying. He's bawling his eyes out while he's in a 5-star resort, and he's going, geez, I've got this much water, but those people don't have
A drop.
a drop. So I don't know if that poor person sitting, you know, in the gutter, they have a choice. They can get out of it, but it's
Hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It can be done, but it is hard. Whereas most people in the Western world, they shouldn't have any excuse at all. Seriously.
Preach, my friend.
They
Yeah.
shouldn't have any excuse at all. Have some discipline, write your goals down, work
Absolutely.
towards those goals.
Yeah.
End of story.
100%. Everything is that, man, you open this incredible thread that I am so loudly spoken about because I think, it's going to hate a lot of lefties here, but I think the world is full of people looking for reasons not to do something rather than people looking for solutions to do something.
Yeah.
Primarily in the Western world. Australia, be it UK, be it Canada, be it US, whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
Because these countries have everything at your fingertips for you to live a somewhat okay life. Like a healthy life, at least.
Yeah.
Unless you have a legitimate mental health or any kind of physical ailments, you're off the table, and
Yep.
that's fair enough. That's more difficult, I understand. But anyone else is able-bodied mentally and physically, you don't really have an excuse.
I know, bro. I get it.
And yeah, so I'm much like you. I think there is choice. And I think for people to say that everything's determined, there's no choice, is almost an excuse to limit yourself from being all that you can be.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And that's my personal opinion anyway.
I 100% agree. I'm like, man, you got a list of excuses. Cool, write them down and then get on with it. Right?
Yeah, get on with your
Yeah,
problem.
get on with it. Like, it's just, why make? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can either choose to do it or not. Like you can't be sitting on the fence. Just get it done.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think it's too many people that are sitting on the fence. It's like, well, you either want to do it or you don't care enough to do it. So therefore, you don't do it. There's no like,
Yeah.
make a list, pros and cons of the decision. If there's more pros and cons, do it. If there's more cons than pros, don't. I think it's so simple. People make mountains out of molehills all the time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Just on how you juggle everything, bro. Just give us some, to me and everyone else listening to this, how are you juggling your life? Because obviously Tanz Finance is a big one.
Yeah.
You've got all these other things that are happening. How are you sort of, logistically managing all of this?
Yeah. Well, I'm extremely pedantic and I probably have some kind of Asperger's, I think. It might be a legitimate thing. Because I think I'm just meticulous or overly meticulous where...
Based on like routine?
Not routine, based on organizing.
Okay.
So everything's in my calendar. Like even if I just show you my calendar now, like this is just like... So that's my calendar.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So everything's color coded, everything's exactly organized or what even to the point where if I need to share a specific post for my business, then I'm like, okay, I got to do that in like 7 days or whatever. That'll be put into my calendar so I don't forget. So in my head, I'm actually always free, man.
Because it's in the calendar.
Yeah, my head's free. I don't have to think about what I have to do today. I'm like, I know what I'm doing today. So I can use that other time when I don't need to do stuff. I'm just like, I'm just relaxing. My mind's free. I'm stress free. I'm not shortening my life by stressing out about things that I don't need to stress out. We have AI and technology at our fingertips for years now. So I think the best way to juggle these things for anyone that maybe struggles, or at least the way that works for me is, I do everything in the cloud. I put it into my calendar, I put in reminders, and I know what to do.
Yeah.
I was in Queensland and my SSD died on my laptop, which means I'm running essentially 2 businesses without a laptop, and I'm not going to fly back to Melbourne for that.
Yeah.
Everything's in the cloud. What do? Jumped on my partner's laptop, logged into my Google Chrome there. Everything's in the cloud there. I continued running my business. It took me literally 5 minutes. So I think it's important that everyone has a really good, I guess, routine to a certain extent, but more so just being organized and planning effectively so that there's less chance. Things are always going to shit's going to hit the fan, but there's always a way that you can minimize the things going wrong. So if you plan yourself well, then you can manage everything. Like I know what I'm doing on Tuesdays, Thursdays. I'm at RMU, I'm training, and every one long weekend a month, I'm away on a boot camp or whatever it is from Friday till Sunday, and then I probably have a gig twice, maybe 3 times a month on a Saturday or a Friday, which is like a wedding or a dinner dance. And then I know that every time during the day, I'm going to smash out my Tanz Finance stuff between like 7:30 a.m. and 9:30, 10 a.m. I know every day I'm at the gym between 11 and 1 p.m. There's no excuse for that. Every day between 11 and 1 p.m. I'm at the gym doing something. And then
2-hour block?
I don't go the full 2 hours, but somewhere between that.
Oh, somewhere between
45 to 1 hour is usually my sweet spot.
Okay, nice.
I'm always at the gym without fault.
Why is that important to you?
Because longevity of life. Because I want to run around. I don't think about my kids. I think about wanting to run around with my grandkids. Yeah, I want to like run around with my grandkids.
Yeah.
And I take, like, people don't believe in vitamins and stuff, but I try to eat as healthy as I can with different kind of veggies. And I also like I got to eat more fruit, which I've been told many times. I'm a bit slack on that, but I take my vitamins. I try to get blood tests done every year to make sure I'm healthy. And I train every day, man. And I encourage others to train too. Like my dad, my sister. I write programs for friends. I randomly send messages to Anything Goes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important that we all kind of look out for each other.
100%.
So, to answer your question in short, I do all these things because I'm very meticulous and I'm really well organized, more than anyone I know.
Yeah. I saw that firsthand when we started booking this podcast. You're like, yeah, bro, give me the time and the date. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. Like,
I think I sent you the invite.
Yeah, you sent me the invite before I even got to it. Because I'll eventually get to it, but I'm like, I don't have the calendar. Because I'm less organized than you are. Let's just put it that way. I end up doing everything when I'm back at my desk, which is probably not the right way. I should, you'd be utilizing my phone more.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just do it this way because...
It works for you.
No, it works for me, but also it's a respect thing too. Like, for example, this Friday's boys' night, and I wanted one of the boys to really come, but he can't make it here, so I changed it, and we did it, and we changed it like a week in advance. For you, you're like, let's do it on this Monday, because we were trying to do it a bit earlier, but I was interstate, so I was like, all right, well, now I made a promise to you that I'm going to do it, so Monday, cool, I'll put it in there because I don't want someone else to message me like, hey, do you want to get dinner on Monday? Then I'm like, nothing's in my account. I'm like, yeah, let's get dinner.
Yeah,
Then I got to
thanks,
message you or him or her
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be like, hey, I got to bail.
I'm the same as well.
So
yeah,
I try not to like let down my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And also it's respecting, I guess.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you're right, like there isn't too much of that happening in the brown community, I feel, it's just, it's very fluid, like people just rock up late, no common courtesy of a phone call, message.
It's just what they are. Island life, man, that's fine.
Yeah, island boy.
Island life, yeah, it's just like, what time's the party?
Yeah.
7. I will go at like 9, straight into the drinks and the dinner, and that's okay. Like, I think that's a really cool way to look at it as well, from like a chill out, like a Bob Marley kind of thing. And Bob Marley had a great life too, right? I mean, he was an island guy too, right? Whatever it was. So like, that's okay. But when we're trying to do different things and different people have different objectives and goals in life, it's not going to work. Like,
but to win in life, you're talking about winning.
Yeah, I mean, people can say, what is winning in life? Maybe they don't care about doing these things so meticulously. Maybe they just want to do their 9 to 5, come home, and then if someone texts them, then they're free to do whatever they want. Like, that could be winning in life for them. So I don't overly think about pushing my way of life onto everyone, but I do want them to understand that this is how so even for you, if I didn't send that through to you, or if you didn't send that through to me, I probably wouldn't be home. Or if you had messaged me today and said like, hey, can we catch up today? I'll be like, don't really want to now.
Yeah,
because like
it's not
it's not in my calendar. So like, I've already mentally prepared myself to watch a movie with my sister or something.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense. That's awesome advice for anyone, man.
Yeah. So just be wary that not everyone's going to be wanting to be as meticulous as me, but also people aren't going to be as free going as Bob Marley, I guess.
Bob Marley. Yeah. No, that's good advice, dude. We've already touched on the emceeing stuff, but let's just get into your main core bread and butter at the moment, which is Tanz Finance.
Yeah.
Tell me, dude, how is it going? So it's been a few years now since you...
2.5 years.
Yep.
Well, technically 2 years, I guess, because I didn't really work when Mum got sick. I kind of shut down the business. But yeah, I love it, man.
You love it.
I love it. I don't go overly hard with marketing it. I didn't go overly hard with pushing it at the start. Even now, I don't really push it. All my clients come through referrals, or friends of friends or friends even. The latter of which was the hardest to convince. It's hardest to convince your friends to trust you in your business.
Of course.
Which is like a very interesting thing. Because I think people don't want to share what they make. I think it's a big thing. It's big in our community at least. Which is fine. But man, love what I do. I get to meet some really cool people. I can help people into homes, buy their businesses, commercial property, residential property, and property has always been a part of my life since I was 14, I guess. So I love it and I understand it, and I've been a property owner since I was 19, so I understand the ins and outs quite well from a doing it myself point of view rather than helping others. So when you understand from both perspectives, I think you become a more well-rounded person, and I think my clients love the fact that I update them before they even think to ask a question. They know I know what they're going to ask before they ask, so I answer it beforehand. So I only take on now 3 clients a week. I started with 1 client a week because it's not about ROI for me. It's just about, I want to do this for the next 40 years because I love it.
Yeah.
And if I love it, it will make me money. And that'll give me the life that I want. And it is giving me the life that I want.
Yeah.
So, I do that. And then I do property development as well. So, if anyone wants to build their house, I'll do the finance. Then I'll source the land for them and I'll give them options of builds, and we do that as well. So I've kind of partnered with another company. He's essentially a business partner of mine, and I pretty much head up his investing for that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. In terms of lending, all types of lending?
Everything from asset finance. I got a guy that runs all the asset finance for me. Personal loans to home loans to investment or owner occupied, obviously, and then commercial loans and business lending as well.
Okay, awesome.
So like overdrafts and stuff, yeah.
Everything. Is there, I asked the architect guy the same question, right? But we're in a market where, the Aussie dream seems to be fading away. Can you sort of share your views on how a new person wanting to get into the market, what should they do? Yeah. Like, I know you've covered this in your video, so I hate having you, repeat this, but what would you do as a newbie wanting to get into the market?
Absolutely. So if you want to buy a house, then we can make it happen, right? If you don't want to buy a house, that's okay too. So don't fall into the trap of everyone's buying a house, I have to buy a house, this stranger is buying a house. It's not. the Australian Dream Festival isn't your dream. So if it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's fine. But if you do want to buy a house, then you speak to someone like me or the previous guy on your podcast and get some ideas. And there's so much information out there that's so helpful and free. Don't ever pay for anything because it's free. But if you are looking to get in the market, I guess the first thing is try to build up a deposit. You only need, like, some banks, even 2% now, right? So 2% of whatever the purchase price is all you need, because stamp duty is waived. People that don't know what a stamp duty is, it's like a tax that you have to pay when you buy land, essentially.
Yeah.
Or a property.
2%? Really?
Yeah, 2%. 5%, all the banks pretty much do 5%.
5%, yeah.
Right? So, okay, so let's put 2% off the table, and we'll just say 5% if it's easier for everyone to remember. If you have 5%, you can buy a house, and you can avoid the stamp duty, you can avoid the loan mortgage insurance. And for those that don't know what loan mortgage insurance is, it's if you don't have a 20% deposit, or anything less than a 20% deposit, the banks will essentially charge you an insurance premium because you have less skin in the game, making you more of a risk to the bank. Therefore, you're paying this loan mortgage insurance to protect the bank. But you can avoid that as well with this new government guarantees that are available, or government guarantee scheme, I think it is. So there's different super schemes, there's government equity schemes, there's always different ways to get into them. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but for people that are listening, these are the ones that are out there that may work for them.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a full-time job, you've been working there for a couple weeks even, we can get a loan approved, right?
Serious?
Yeah. The only issues are that definitely can't is if you don't have a job, no income, you can't buy a house. If you don't have a couple percent, can't buy a house. If you have bad credit, you can't buy a house. So if you have like under 400 credit, under 500 credit, it's very difficult. You can go get it repaired and fixed. If it's a legitimate mistake, that's fine. We can look in different ways to getting that fixed and speaking to professionals in that industry to fix your credit score. But if it's something that you just have bad credit because you've been bankrupt or because you've not paid your previous loans before or credit cards, then you're gonna have to wait till your credit score improves. Or go pay and get that fixed up and improved or whatever it is. Or,
Yep. And there are companies who help with that,
yeah,
right?
like credit repair people.
Yep.
You know. So to answer your question, if someone wants to get into the property market, you absolutely can. Flick me a text, give me a call, and there's no obligation. Like, I don't care if you go with someone else, but it's just like, if you just want to chat and learn, like, let's chat. I love to have a chin wag with anyone. I think it's really fun.
100%. I mean, for anyone wanting to get in touch with Tanila, I'll leave all his details, all his social media. There'll be a bunch of it.
Just the Tanz fine. Yeah.
On the show notes. But yeah, sorry, keep going. So it's coming down to it, if possible, mindset. If you want to get it done, it can be done.
Yeah.
For not as hard as not as hard as people think it is.
It's not as hard as what people think it is. But if you're like straight, say 25 out of uni, first year into the job, making, I don't know, 80 grand, 70 grand a year or whatever, you're not going to buy $1 million house. Like, you need to be realistic too, right? Like, I've been out of the property market for ages, and like, even now I wouldn't buy $1 million house, you know? I mean, it just depends what you want to do. If you do want to buy $1 million house, then you're going to have to wait till your income goes up. Or say you sell off some of the other investments if you have them, like have a larger deposit, for example. Because on that kind of income, it's pretty much impossible to buy that level of house unless you have like a large deposit or you have parents guaranteeing. So that's called the dad of mum and dad, which you might have heard of. And you definitely can. So there's a couple great lenders out there, like Westpac do a great job with guarantor lending. You can go as a security guarantor or a servicing guarantor. Security guarantor means they pretty much put up part of their house to cover some portion of the house that you're buying. Servicing guarantor means they provide some of the income to help with the loan itself to boost how much you can borrow. Okay. Personally, I stick with the former. It's probably a safer option for all parties involved, but also for anyone listening, speak to a professional in that field and get legal advice. But generally, these are things you can do. So if you really want to buy a house, maybe think about, like, for example, an example that I get right now is, I really want to buy this house. My budget's only like 600,000, 650, but I really want to get into the property market, but it's so far out from where I work. Okay, cool. So why don't you tough it out for 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is, and live further away and make the commute? Or B, just buy as an investment property and rent vest. That's another option, So, or a hybrid between the two. You buy and live in it for 12 months or 6 months if it's other states, like Queensland, for example. Get all the grants that are available to you, 30,000 in Queensland, 10,000 in Victoria, and anywhere in between everywhere else. And then live in it for 6 months or 12 months, look at the state or speak to me and make sure you cover that tick box that the government needs. and then rent it out and move closer and rent invest where you work. So there's heaps.
There's
of
options available.
There
It's
is,
just
people
people
don't
got to
know.
look into
Because
it.
mainstream media is the worst thing. They keep putting out this fear mindset, and I think it's not a good thing. I think there's heaps of opportunity out there.
Yeah, 100%. That's great advice, dude. So I appreciate you sharing that. What about for a seasoned investor? And I know I'm sort of, because it's hard for you to give this advice without it being evergreen,
Yeah.
but what are you seeing in the market now, and what advice would you give to a seasoned investor
Yeah.
in the Australian market? So there's, in terms of markets, if we call it Melbourne a market, which it isn't, right? There's pockets
There's
of it,
pockets,
but
yeah.
there's
But
pockets. Generally speaking,
yeah.
Brisbane, Queensland, Sydney, Perth,
Adelaide, whatever,
yeah.
Seasoned investor, I think the best thing is if you're a seasoned investor, you probably have some cash to throw, right? If you have cash to throw, find a good buyer's advocate.
Oh, really? You would
Yeah.
go down that path?
Yeah. I think there's paying that 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever it is, I don't know, or maybe
Yep.
slightly more. Do your due diligence, make sure you pick a good one. But if you find a buyer's advocate that does proper research, numbers don't lie. And it's not guaranteed, but you're definitely going to do well, because it's going to appreciate more than you trying to Google stuff and find out what things are happening, population growth. Because I personally do it myself because I know these things.
Yeah.
But even then, a BA does it far better. So if you're a seasoned investor, you're buying a $600,000 house. What's an extra 10, 15 grand going to do?
True.
Right? I know this may sound like 10, 15 grand is a lot of money, and I get it for first-time buyers, but if you're speaking specifically to seasoned investors,
Yeah.
10, 15 grand ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who's a first-time buyer like my own sister, that's a lot of money, and probably not for you, right? And that's fine too. So for seasoned investors, definitely go down that path. At least have an initial chat with them. It's obligation-free. It's consult-free. There's no charges, so might as well.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're looking to do. Get your pre-approval. Look at what you're trying to do. Tell them what you're trying to do, and then see if they can help and get you the return they want, the yield you want, the growth they want, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that would be the first thing, because then you can look at all across the market. Melbourne fell from the second most expensive city to the sixth most expensive city in the last year and a half or something, right? So Brisbane's now number 2.
Yep.
Would you buy in Brisbane? Probably not, because it's kind of already gone. It's probably appreciated too much. Would you buy in Melbourne now? I'd say so, man, because it's dropped a fair bit. So it's probably more lucrative to buy in Melbourne to get a sharper growth over the next 12 months when interest rates coming down and people start investing more in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Because what's happening right now is people have pulled out of Melbourne in the last 2-3 years. When people pull out, the demand's going to drop, right? If the demand's going to drop, the price is going to plateau or even drop, generally speaking, right? I'm sure there's areas that have gone up.
Yep.
I would never make a blanket statement, but yeah, generally it would plateau or drop. So if that's happening, cool. Where are they going to? Queensland? Okay, there's more demand. The price is going to go up. Makes sense. So if Melbourne's already 6 now and things are kind of plateauing out, what's going to happen in the next 2 years when people realize Melbourne still is the most livable city in the country?
Yep.
People are going to start coming back.
Potentially the world, they keep saying, right?
Yeah, I think we're
it changes
third
every
or
now
something.
and yeah.
Potentially the world. I know we were first for 6 years,
Yeah.
and now we're third. I don't know.
And then
Vienna and
Andrews came in and just
I mean, that's a whole different podcast.
That's a different-
different podcast altogether. Briefcases of money to Chinese investors. What? Anyway, we'll move on from there. But yeah, so I think yeah, it is what it is.
What about the land tax
In
in
Victoria,
In Victoria.
stupid. It is.
But do you see that impacting, or people okay, they're just going to factor that into the equation?
I think they're going to factor it into the equation because overall growth is still going to be more because you're paying 500 or 1,000 something, right? Yeah. So that's per property, by the way, for investment properties.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's per property every year. You're going to pay $500, depending on how much it's worth, or 1,000 something, whatever it is. So it's a flat fee, and it is a lot. Paying an extra couple grand a year for per property. If you got 10, that's 20 grand. But then the argument that I can hear people saying right now is, if you got 10 properties, you got enough money. Yeah, true. But also people forget it's so easy to throw shade at the people that own property and the landlords, and they forget that they've worked hard to be able to afford this. And then the other switch is that they're allowing for people to be able to rent houses. Otherwise, what are you going to do? There's going to be less houses, less new houses being built, therefore more commission housing. And is that a better option? Maybe, I don't know. It's debatable, but
It's the investors that are coming in that are solving the government's problem as to providing housing. So the other option is the government housing, and government housing ain't that great.
it ain't shit. Yeah.
I know people who are, sort of ventured down the government housing in terms because they were forced to, and they're telling me, Opie, I'm paying $150 a week, but there's there's vermin, there's cockroaches. You walk out and you're basically risking your life because there's criminal activity going on.
Yeah.
And I've had chats with those, people going, dude, if you can, don't do it.
Yeah.
Stay in this particular place.
Yeah.
And I've had this sort of, man-to-man discussions,
Yeah.
just trying to get them to find a different way than to go down this easy path because it's $150 a week or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not
It's not perfect.
It's
that's
not
for sure. It's far from
perfect at
perfect.
all.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. I think the government. We don't need to go to the government and make it political, but I think economically speaking, the government needs to do some much better work, both fiscally and to be more responsible.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't just mean that from the cost of living increasing or bringing down the rates. I just mean that from their overall, their debits and credits ain't balancing, is what I'm trying to say, in the most polite way without causing any other ruckus. I don't think they're doing it right. And I think there's so much seepage of funds in the government, and I don't think they know where that's going. The treasurer doesn't know what's going on. Like, honestly.
Yeah, 100%.
He's saying some stupid stuff. I mean, I'm not even talk about the super tax, but there's just things that are happening. They're desperately trying to claw back some of this debt. Australia's in so much debt, it's ridiculous. And Melbourne, or Victoria, sorry, in particular, is in the most debt out of all the states.
I think even combined at one point.
I think it was, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was like equal with everybody else, something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Wild. So the only way they got rid of it, they sold off all the ports to Chinese investors. I don't know if you knew that. So all the ports are no longer owned by Victoria, they're owned by overseas investors.
There you go.
And that was to fund the rail project as well, but who knows where the money really went. And then now they're trying to tax the super to call back some of this money that we owe other countries, essentially.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
Going back to Tanz Finance, but anything else that you want to say in terms of just the business itself?
Like a plug?
Yeah, do a plug.
Yeah.
Do a plug.
Honestly, Tanz Finance is for. I love working with first home buyers and people that are novice because I get to teach them from step 1 all the way to step 10 or whatever it is, and I really enjoy that. I find it therapeutic. I've done that to so many clients that I don't even get anything back for, and I enjoy it. I get to coach. I used to guest lecture at Swinburne Uni and Deakin University in finance and property and all that stuff. So I like doing it, and I tend to be pretty good at it. And I mean, even if you Google the reviews, my clients, I'm really grateful that they leave these reviews because I think it shows that it makes me want to do more of what I want to do, means that I am making a difference.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, if you want any advice with buying a house, building a house, buying a business, funding a business or a commercial property, reach out. If you're self-employed or you're PAYE, it doesn't matter, reach out. Let's have a chat. If you're not ready now, I'll tell you you'll be ready in 6 months if we do this, for example. So it's more of an education and coaching piece along with providing you with an asset that you might get at the end of it, if that's what you want.
Yeah, perfect.
So that's what it's about. Yeah.
That's awesome. We've covered a bunch of topics.
We
bro.
have, man.
Anything else you want to touch on that we haven't?
I think we've covered everything. I can't think of anything. I'm sure there's heaps, but
Yeah,
I think
I'm sure there are.
Yeah,
heaps.
yeah.
I'm just trying to think of anything. We've covered the music. We've covered the tanks.
Man, I don't even know. We just so everyone knows, we didn't plan this at all, man. Like it was just like we're just having a chat.
We were just having a chat. So
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no
that's
dot
it.
points.
Yeah,
There's
no
notes,
dot point.
There's
so
no,
it's good.
There's no
It's good.
teleprompter. you know. Yeah.
Look, if we think of something, we'll do a part 2. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on the podcast. More importantly, man,
appreciate
I love that you're doing this because it's very rare to see someone that's in your position. I mean, with a family and 2 kids, and you know, it's hard when you have a wife and 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do the things they love, and hearing about your 100-day podcast that you did for your kids, beautiful, by the way.
Thanks,
I love
bro.
that.
Thanks.
And then doing this and managing that with work and kids, I think it's a testament to your character. And you've always been that Aya that's the nicest bloody Aya that's always been. Like, I've never seen you angry. I've never seen you upset. So I think for you to keep that and keep doing this, you're going to live till you're 200 years old, bro. So like, keep doing more of you, man. And know that there's people like me. I mean, I tell you this every now and then, but there's people that aren't like me that watch you from the sidelines and from the shadows and are very proud of what you're doing.
Yeah,
and I
thanks,
think
bro.
it encourages us
appreciate it.
indirectly as well. So I see you doing
really
this and I'm
appreciate
like, I need to keep leveling up, man, because like, I don't want to A, fall behind, and B, I want to do as well as like Upendra is, you know, and like, I want to be more like him, and you're influencing people in a good way.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I
for sure,
appreciate
man.
that. And the thing is, I mean, the reason why I started doing it is because I get to have these deep, as I can get
Yeah.
in a podcast level with someone that I've known for a while. Maybe it's someone new, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've interviewed some people who are new
Yeah.
to my life, and you get to go on a deep learning curve with them. And then if someone wants to join in and listen in,
Yeah.
they'll learn something too. I mean, guaranteed they'll learn something from you about consistency, perseverance, juggling multiple things, following their passion, being true to you, and just fighting through tragic moments, right? Which hasn't been easy. So there's all these milestones that you've touched on, which I sincerely appreciate, bro. You sharing, I genuinely do.
Thanks, man. I mean, life's short. It's going to be full of ups and downs. I think as long as you got the right people by your side, whether that be a partner, your parents, your closest friends, or siblings, you can't go wrong. And I am very fortunate to have my closest friends always supporting me. I have my partner, I have my parents, or I have my dad now, and I know my mom's looking down on me, and I know my sister supports me too. So
Yeah, legend.
I'm very fortunate. So I can't go wrong.
That's it, man. Attitude of gratitude, 100%.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, well done. Thank you so much, brother.
Man, thanks
Love
for
you,
having
man.
me, bro. Always a
Love you
pleasure.
so much.
On to the next one.
Next one.
Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as I rocketeer, flying high, through Elon's Mars, yeah, starting to glow. I gotta watch it, you never know what might stop you. It's more fun to do together, finding someone you can cheer with. Watching out, let her run, don't be afraid, just run with her. Aim for the stars, land on Jupiter, distance don't matter, just step ahead now, be in front of yourself, that's all you can do to better yourself.